Some people do not have the knowledge to understand the consequences of what they're doing.
There are people who fought and there are people who still fight for the environment. They believe that we have to protect our environment, and they know the benefits of the environment that is well protected and the benefits that it has. At this time I pause to remember such great men, and I pause to join Kenyans in mourning and in consoling the family of Right Honorable Raila Amollo Odinga, Mama Ida Menpiny, his immediate family, extended family, to the people of Kenya, Africa, and the world, that we've lost someone who is remembered for many legacies and who played a critical role in the advancement of humanity. But at GrowTech today, I look at the role he played in the environment, and I celebrate him for the contribution he did, not just for Kenya, but beyond our country. Raila Amollo Odinga, after the highly contested election of 2007, when he became the Prime Minister, he saw an opportunity that anyone else could not see. He saw a livelihood that has been destroyed than any other thing, and he stood up to restore those lives.
The Mau Forest issue was top on the agenda during the weekly Prime Minister's time, and as such, the debate was bound to be an explosive affair as the Prime Minister came face to face with the Rift Valley members of Parliament who have accused him of engineering a move to flush out those believed to have grabbed forest land. But Raila accused the members of Parliament of misleading the public on who will be compensated.
And I want to repeat, the government is keen to compensate those who have title deeds to the land they own in Mau. At the same time, those small settlers who are very poor and have no means of making a living will not be left unassisted.
Raila found himself in hot waters when he accused the section of Rift Valley members of Parliament vocal on the Mau issues playing politics with a serious national matter.
The same members of Parliament would go to a public rally to begin to call the Prime Minister words. That's why I said that, Mr. Speaker, these members of Parliament were engaged in populist, cheap populist politics.
Mr. Speaker, we don't want the Prime Minister to impute improper motives on our part. We are elected to represent our constituents, and we are going to do just that, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Mr. Your point is made.
Yes.
The war of words raged on when the Premier asserted that most of the Rift Valley members of Parliament did not have their facts right over the Mau Forest.
Some people do not have the knowledge to understand the consequences of what they're doing. They will be logging, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, they need to be taught.
I think the Prime Minister, it is important for you to respect the members of Parliament of Rift Valley, because we were elected to discuss issues that are affecting our people. And if there is anything that is burning, I think we have an obligation.
He was a voice that stood at that time to tell Kenyans and to remind them that we had done a lot of destruction. We needed not just to restore our peace in heart, but there's also an environmental impact that we needed to restore at that time. He stood for the Mau Forest. This is the largest catchment area in East Africa. This is the source of many rivers that flows towards Lake Victoria. These rivers include, but not limited to, River Sondu, River Mara, and even River Njoro. People depend on these rivers, and these rivers can only exist when the Mau Forest is alive and growing. After seeing the devastation and the declaring of land that has happened there, he stood for that forest. He told Kenyans that we need to restore this forest now. We need to heal the forest. And when the political temperatures rose because of that forest, he is a man who said, I remember when I was still young,
I will not be intimidated. Speaker, I will not be blackmailed, Mr. Speaker, because what I'm doing, I know I'm doing it in the interest and the best interest of this nation, Mr. Speaker. And I say that I'm prepared to pay the political price, Mr. Speaker.
It shows the spirit and the vigor he had in restoring that forest. I see that the lens he's used was beyond Africa, beyond Kenya, where he was speaking from. From the Mau Forest, these rivers flows to Lake Victoria. There between, there are farmers who graze and rare animals that feed on these rivers. There are many crops that depend on the rain that falls because of the protection of the Mau forest. And as the rivers flows to the Lake Victoria and fills that massive land, the largest lake in Kenya, East Africa, these waters gather there and start a journey towards the north of Africa, crossing the dry countries of Sudan towards Egypt and providing livelihood to those in those areas. In him, he was defending his country, ensuring that there's going to be sufficient food for his countrymen. But he was also seeing a people who depended on the supply of water from Lake Victoria, but as a source, the rivers that come from Mau.
Is an event that spelled out what could be in the making, a political alliance against the Premier. So is he now feeling the pressure? Is it the reason he won't comment about the Mau controversy? Well, if the statement he was part of is anything to go by, then the government says it's satisfied with the progress of evictions.
The Secretariat have managed to recover almost 70,000 acres in the last 2-3 months.
That is an equivalent of 25,000 hectares. The government says another 75,000 hectares need to be reclaimed. The restoration of the water towers has made more people homeless. The next phase of the Mau evictions will affect another 35,000 households who live in the Masai Mau block. Even the Ogieks, who are said to have Aboriginal rights to the forest, will also be relocated. The Secretariat has, however, met the community in a bid to work out an amicable solution to both sides.
Raila stood for this river and he stood for the trees. And the stories of trees encourages me that Raila knew that trees is the symbol of what our life should be. When I look at the trees that he was defending, trees are able to come back to life when you've cast them down in the soil, thinking they have been buried. Seeds are never buried. Seeds are covered by soil and then they emerge.
The morning mist clings to the canopy of the southwest Mau forest like a ghostly reminder of what was almost lost forever. Just a decade ago, this same view would have revealed a landscape of stumps, ash, and despair. Today, the sun pierces through leaves that shouldn't exist, at least not according to the dire predictions of 2015. Beekeeping program alone, with potato farming initiatives and tree nursery employment, has created alternative livelihoods for over 6,000 households. Former charcoal burners and now earn more as forest guardians than they ever did as its destroyers.
Trees are able to come back to life when you've cast them down in the soil, thinking they have been buried. Seeds are never buried. Seeds are covered by soil and then they emerge. How many times did I see this man looking so beaten after elections, thinking that he's not going to come again? Many people writing him off politically. I saw him rising as a seed again with a great force, and I continue to be relevant and shaping the political landscape. But I see the lessons from trees, which have various cycles. There's a cycle that trees live to drop their seeds, to take a break. But after some time, I see trees coming back. Finally, when you look at a tree, a very big gigantic tree, there comes a time when humans feel that the tree can be used for various products that it has, and they decide to cut down a tree. This giant tree will fall with a loud sound. The sound that Kenya is feeling today with the falling of this hero that has fought so much for many things beyond what I'm talking about in this video. As the tree falls down, every organism that depended on this tree flees off, including the birds that goes back to the air. They fly and leave the tree.
And what we have there is what we call a water cannon salute, which is in honor of the late Right Honorable Raila Amollo Odinga, as he now wheels in. As mentioned, this on an ordinary day would be KQ 203, but today, in honor of the late Right Honorable Raila Amollo Odinga, it is RAO 001. The call sign for this aircraft is RAO 001. The passenger. After which we will then have the passport of His Excellency the Right Honorable Raila Amollo Odinga wheeled out to be officially received by His Excellency Dr. William Samoei. So kindly, for guidance, we'll have the Cabinet Secretary, then Members of Parliament, all facing towards the aircraft. We cannot have anybody in front here, please.
At exactly 6:28 a.m., the gun carriage bearing the body of the late Raila Amollo Odinga left the Lee Funeral Home, making its way through Valley Road, Kenyatta Avenue, and Uhuru Highway before arriving at the Parliament buildings. A dignified viewing chamber had been prepared inside Parliament to allow leaders and dignitaries to pay their last respects to the former Prime Minister, as the nation continued to mourn one of the most influential and iconic figures in Kenya's political history. The public viewing was originally scheduled for Thursday, but the burial committee, chaired by Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki and Raila's elder brother Oburu Oginga, was forced to adjust the plans due to the overwhelming turnout of mourners from across the country. The ceremony was temporarily moved to Kasarani International Stadium to accommodate the massive crowds. After prayers led by bishops from the Anglican Church, the viewing resumed. Leaders led by President William Ruto and parliamentarians catching the last glimpse of the man many regarded as a symbol of resilience and democracy. The procession later made its way to Nyayo National Stadium for the state funeral, which was attended by leaders across the political divide, foreign dignitaries, and thousands of Kenyans.
Uwanja wa kimataifa ama ukipenda uwanja wa kitaifa wa Nyayo
The emotional ceremony featured heartfelt tributes, prayers, messages of condolence, military honors, cultural rites and speeches celebrating Raila's legacy. Hundreds of mourners were then given a second chance to view the body and bid their final farewell. The day concluded with a moving military salute as security officers, including members of the armed forces, paid their last respects. The national flag was then draped over the casket before the body was transported back to Lee Funeral Home, marking the close of a historic day of state funeral for the former Prime Minister.
Mizinga 17.
But we have to ask ourselves, as Raila rests there, are we going to be the birds that are going to fly and live? Or are we going to remember the legacy, the support he gave us, the many people that depended on him, and the many people that he supported? Are we going to drop the legacy? Are we just going to mourn him now with the tears and do nothing about it? I think we have to go back to something that he did, something that will protect us and something that is going to be relevant for us and for every generation. And that is to plant more trees. We have to go beyond the mouth that he fought for. We have to go back to our homes and plant trees. Even those who mourn, I'll ask you a question. If you love Raila so much, can't we plant a tree in memory of this great man? A tree that will remind us of his legacy. Perhaps if you can afford a forest, isn't this the best time to plant a forest? A forest that will remind us of a man that played an enormous contribution in defending the environment. I believe as Kenyans there is hope for us all. There is something to continue fighting for. There is hope and a space that has been given through the effort that he made in this country and even for Africans to continue the good spirit, the spirit of fight, and to make this country and the continent a better place to be. Let us continue in the spirit of Raila, of always recovering, of reconciling with everything including the environment and giving them a better place to do better and to thrive.